Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jed Lee, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast, coming to you from the beautiful Reading with Your Kids studios in the lovely neighborhood of Reedville in the southwest corner of Boston, Massachusetts. We are delighted that you're a part of our Reading with Your Kids family. We want you to make sure you don't miss an episode, so please subscribe to the show wherever you find your podcast. We have a wonderful guest for you today. She is the author of My Magical Words. Her name is Becky Cummings. Before Becky joins us, I want to let you know that this episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is brought to you by the first book in the Superhero School series, With the Courage of a Mouse. It's written by our friend Donna Sager-Cowan. Cat the cat wants a home, a family, and friends she can count on. When she suddenly finds herself in Sweet Meadows, a long way from the alley she calls home, Cat discovers she can talk, but she can't decide if she's dreaming or dead. Simon is a mouse, and Simon is having the worst day ever. Instead of celebrating his first day at superhero school, he's on the breakfast menu twice. A hawk considered him an easy meal, but quick thinking changed that. Now a cat wants to pounce, not if Simon can help it. With a quick plan and matchstick, Simon speeds towards certain death. Will he arrive at superhero school? Well, you have to read the book to find out. Join the entire superhero school gang for their first adventure with the courage of a mouse. The Superhero School series, Book 1, a middle grade chapter book for ages 7 to 12. It focuses on courage, friendship, and finding the superhero inside all of us. The series touches on common life themes and challenges with humor, patience, and self-improvement techniques. This is a wonderful, wonderful book that you and your kids are going to absolutely love. It's With the Courage of a Mouse, the first book in the Superhero School series by our friend Donna Sager-Cowan. This episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast is also brought to you by I Can Handle It by our friend Laurie Wright. You know, we've talked a lot on the podcast about how some parents are just so incredibly overprotective of their kids. They don't want their kids to experience any sadness. They don't want their kids to experience any failures or disappointments. And if that causes problems. I mean, if you're around kids these days, you may have noticed that many of them don't realize just how very capable they are. It's because many children haven't had the practice of solving their own problems. And because of that, they think that they're just not able to. Kids need to know that they are capable of handling situations that they're going to encounter in everyday life. And they also need to know that they're capable of handling the emotions that come from those situations as well. We know that practice is essential if we want our kids to be successful in soccer or basketball or ballet or piano. Well, we also need to understand that practicing handling their problems is essential if we want our kids to achieve success in the real world. And I'm talking about problems such as missing shoes and having to turn the TV off, wanting a pet, or even making a mistake. These can be huge tragedies for kids, and they need to practice how to handle these situations. And the kids learn best through repetitions. And after reading I Can Handle It by Laura Wright and hearing the mantra, I can handle it, over and over and over again, they will identify with the child in the story, and they'll realize that they are just like him and declare to all that they can handle it. You can learn more about I Can Handle It by Laura Wright by visiting laurawriter.com. Joining us right now from St. Augustine in the beautiful state of Florida. She is the author of a brand new book called My Magical Words. Please welcome to the show, Becky Cummings. Becky, how are you?
Hello, I'm doing wonderful. Thank you.
You can just tell that she is loving Florida. She just has this big, giant smile on her face, and she just looks so relaxed. Becky is new to Florida, she was telling me, and she's just very, very happy being there. So I'm really happy for you, and I'm really happy that My Magical Words has just been released.
Thank you. Yes, it's an exciting time. A lot of new changes down here, and I'm loving all of them. So I feel very blessed.
Tell us all about My Magical Words, please.
Yes. So this is my newest book, and it's sort of a spin-off of the one I just launched in September. That one was for kids ages 8 to 12, and as I was kind of, I think you get your best ideas when you're driving. As I was driving one day, I was like, you know what, I got to take these concepts in this book, and I need to bring them down for kids that are even younger than 8 to 12. And, I never really thought about doing picture books because I'm not an illustrator. And of course you can hire one, but I just hadn't really thought about it. And it was like, you know what? I have to do that. I'm going to do it. And I decided I would take some of the concepts in my big kids book and I would break them up into small picture books. And this book would be the first in the series. And it would be all about using your words and positive affirmations. So the book teaches kids how to say things like, I am loved and I am special, I am smart, I am strong. And then with each affirmation comes a fun, positive rhyming verse that gives them some advice, and it's cute. And it's been a really amazing to just watch even my own family and people I know just use the book as a tool to teach their kids how to do positive self-talk and just feel really confident. And I know that it's, setting a great stage for self-love, which is something we need to really instill in all kids, especially at an early age.
What would you say? Because as you're talking, there's I grew up in the inner city of Boston a million years ago, and I know some of the guys that I grew up with, if they heard you talking about positive self-talk and affirmations, they'd just say, "Oh, that woo-woo stuff. I don't. That's just a bunch of stuff, and there's nothing to that." What would you say to those folks?
Well, I think, a lot of us think it's woo-woo until we evaluate our own lives as adults, and we say, you know what? Am I truly happy? Am I feeling confident and successful? Am I really experiencing success? And success is defined very differently. And I think as we get older, we kind of stop and we have those moments where maybe we realize we're not where we're supposed to be, or we should be doing more. And we start seeking purpose in our lives. And then we kind of backtrack and say, maybe I was missing some fundamentals. Maybe I was missing some of these things. And so for me, going on this journey and learning and realizing that our words have so much power, and I didn't realize that when I was little. I never felt confident. I never felt beautiful. And it took me till as I was adult to really step into my power and use that. And so we may feel like it's woo-woo stuff until we realize that that's what we're really missing. And if we learned it at a young age, we're unstoppable.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You mentioned success, and people have different definitions of success. What's your definition, and what kind of definition do you want kids to have of being successful?
That's a great question. So some people define success with money, and some people define it with things or with family or with their job. But, it's different for everyone. And for me, the way I define my success is truly feeling content and happy inside, that joy feeling that I get from serving my purpose in life and really knowing what I'm supposed to be doing. And, I've had many careers in my life, and I felt that I could feel inside of me if I was on the right track or if it was, helping me with something, but it really wasn't where I was meant to be. Mm-hmm. And when I feel like you're doing what is in line with your purpose, and it could be being a mom or being, whatever your career is, or being a wife or a husband, really feel that. And for me, that's true success, being able to live each day with purpose and joy and being in your best health that you can be in.
And I think that's really important. I think there are so many families, so many kids who are looking at their parents who love them and are killing themselves every day going out there because I have to work all these hours and be away from my family because we need the big house, we need the car, we need to save $1 bazillion so the kids can go to college. And so they're kind of growing up thinking, well, that's success for me, to get lots of money and to just work myself to the bone, and then maybe I'll survive and I'll be able to retire and be happy when I retire.
I feel like we've been brainwashed by society to think that's what's normal. And, you see it even the other day. I was, I kind of put a post on Facebook. I have my kid's birthday party, and there was like 7 out of 25 parents RSVP'd on time. And I kind of put something up, and everybody says, well, that's just the way it is nowadays. Let it go. And I was like, I'm not going to let it go, because that's where we have a problem in our society. That's a symptom of the issue in our society of what's wrong. We don't value relationships the way we used to. And we're missing our connection with people, which is the most important thing. That's why we're put here on earth, to connect with each other and to love and support each other. And so when we're out chasing the American dream of cars or houses, we're missing out on the most important thing, which is the time with our children, the relationships with our children and with other people. And so we need to really refocus. And that's why I love this book, because that's, one of those precious times of the day where, most parents will spend some great time with their kids. They'll settle down, they'll read a book, they'll snuggle in together. And it's just a time to reflect and remember how special we each are and all the different gifts that we have.
What you just described, being on the couch together, snuggling with each other, reading words of affirmation, having a parent read magical words to their kids. That to me is one of the greatest gifts that we can give to our kids.
Absolutely. It truly is. When you're just engaged with your kids 100% and giving them your time and energy, they feel that love. And it's so important to just pour that into them every day and pour into those words into them that build them up and make them feel all that God created them to be. It's so important.
Now, I find it fascinating that you the first version of My Magical Words was for older kids. So many authors come on and they write a really positive, affirming book for younger kids, and they go, gee, teenagers need to hear this too. And so it's kind of the reverse. Why did you choose to write for an older audience first?
Well, I was a teacher for many years, and I taught in 4th and 5th grade, and then I had my own tutoring company, and I worked with all grades. But the age that I just always loved speaking to, which is that 8 to 12 age, is where I felt compelled to start, because that's just the age where kids are really open to new ideas. They're excited about life still, and they're sponges. They'll just take it all in. And so I had so many things that I wanted to tell them. And it came from my experience in a classroom where I felt that, this is great. We're learning dividing and multiplying fractions, because that's really important in life, or some of these other silly things that we spend all this time and energy doing to our kids when we're not teaching them the basics, like how to make a friend, or how to eat healthy, or why sleep is important, or how to use your thoughts, actions, and your words to really manifest your dreams. So kids are missing some of these pieces, and I just, would take notes and write these things down, and it became this book, and that was my first book, The Magic of Me, and it's a collection of about 30 different lessons that teach kids how to love themselves, love others, and really how to find their own purpose in the world.
You touched on something. When I was younger and I coached kids at a high school in a very competitive soccer team, one of the things that I would do with the kids is ask them to visualize themselves on the field, doing the different skills, being successful, working together, visualize that so they can see it and then make it happen. One thing we don't ever seem to do with kids is to ask them as they're young to kind of visualize themselves happy and successful and not stressed out. We seem to do the opposite, It's like, you got to get prepared for this test, and we're all going to do the standardized test, and and we seem like we spend a lot of time making our kids crazy.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And we're not going to talk about testing, because that's all. We could be on here for hours. But even like my son, he's 8 years old, and he goes up, he does BMX racing, and he'll get up to the field, and he'll see some other kids, and almost his first natural instinct is to be like, oh gosh, there's all these other kids. And I'll pause him and I'll say, stop, close your eyes, win in your mind first, close your eyes and do that. And, major athletes, they all do this. This is part of their training, but why are we not teaching it to everyone? Why are we hiding it from our children? So for me, it was really important to get all this information out that I learned as an adult and make it accessible to children. And that's why I wrote it so that, an 8-year-old could understand it. And the funny part was I even had many adults come up to me and said, this book, you teach the law of attraction, you teach all this stuff, but it was the first time I could actually understand it because it was written for a fourth grader, and I loved it.
Yeah, one of the things that I always do, and I think I drive people crazy with it, if I'm in some kind of a meeting or learning something and I'm learning a new concept, I always break it down so that my third grade self can understand it. And then I get it, and then I'm able to do it. But I think I annoy people sometimes because I have to sit down and go, wait a minute, do you mean? And yeah, that's what we mean. How can we kind of give us walk us through how we might be able to encourage our kids to visualize themselves and not on the field being successful, but just being successful and happy and tranquil in life?
Well, I think, using a specific example does help with kids because it gives them something concrete to visualize. So let's use the testing piece as an example as much as
I know, I don't want you to go crazy.
About testing. But, a lot of kids have anxiety about it and they get nervous. So what a parent could do is before the test, they could practice with their kids, having them close their eyes and having, imagining the teacher walking over and handing them the tests. And the child can imagine themselves just taking deep breaths, smiling, saying things like, I got this. I'm going to do well. I'm smart. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident, and talking through some of those positive affirmations. And so when the child actually does get into that situation, they'll have that memory of what they did and be able to feel more comfortable in the actual situation. Their mind's already been programmed to respond that way. Mm-hmm. And if they practice that over and over, it becomes, more automatic. And this can be applied to anything.
Yeah, I love that. Teaching, I think that's so important, teaching kids to stop and take a moment to breathe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things that I used to do, and Becky and I are talking over each other here, but one of the things that I used to do with my kids when they were either a big dance recital or a competition or football practice, whatever, I would always tell them, help them visualize, and then I always say to them, and just remember that even if you go out there and you make a mistake or you fail, that we're still going to love you. It's
right.
It's not going to matter what happens. That's never going to change. We're still going to be here. You're still going to be part of our family, and we're still going to love you just as much as we do right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And even in the book, one of my chapters talks about your gifts and how, everybody's been gifted with different things. And so you'll notice people in class that are amazing readers or can draw really well. And sometimes you may feel a little jealous because you don't have those things, but we're all purposely gifted that way. And it's completely awesome that we are, because it would be boring if we're all the same. Mm-hmm. It gives us, people around us that can be teachers. It gives us challenges, and we need those things in our life. So whenever my son, has a moment where he, falls on his face literally at the BMX track or doesn't feel like he does well on a test or whatnot, I always remind him, oh, that's a lesson then for you. That's great. That's awesome. What are you going to learn from that today? And we take it like that, because life, this is like a big classroom, and we're here to learn. And every moment that we have is really teaching us things.
Now, you mentioned a couple of times that you're passing on lessons that you learned as an adult and that you didn't have these skills as a kid. What was it that allowed you to learn these things as an adult?
Well, there's been a lot of different experiences in my life that caused me to go on different paths and learn. So I can't really point to just one thing. But for example, when my first son was born, he was born early and he was really sick, really, really sick. So I had to do everything I could to keep him healthy. And he had already had many medications in the hospital, and I had to try naturally to keep him healthy. So that sent me on this complete psycho mom quest for how to take care of him naturally. And so, everything became, well, what am I going to feed him? It's got to be organic. Well, what does organic mean? And learning about everything that went in his body. And then also when he would get sick, I would have to find natural ways to help cure him. And then it just caused me to learn about everything I could about the health world. Cause once you open the box and you learn one thing and you realize, oh wow, that's true. Like my deodorant has aluminum in it, or, this milk has hormones in it. Ew. When you start learning these things, it makes you learn more and more, and then you can't really stop. And you wonder, why didn't I learn this in school? Why wasn't this explained to me? So it's been a series of moments like that in my life that have just have been just completely amazing, where I feel like I've learned so much, and I'll always be learning. I love being a learner.
Now, one of the things I want to ask you about in a minute is the Magic of Me journal, but I want to kind of, and I apologize. Well, it's my show. I can do this, but I want to put you on the spot a little bit. You mentioned that you really have this thing about testing, and you have you experience as a teacher and as a tutor. If you had a magic wand and you could just wave the magic wand to change the educational system, what kind of ways, what kind of things would you do?
That's a great question. I've thought about it a lot too. So I would make kids learn a lot of the things that I feel important in life, such as, they would do classes such as meditation and yoga as part of their day. They would learn real life skills like how to grow their own food and cook their own meals made with all organic produce. They would learn a lot of this ancient stuff that I feel like has not been taught to us, some of that really ancient history, learning the civilizations. We we talk about Egypt and things like that, and we stop there, but there's history way before that. So I would expose kids to everything, and I would make it a lot more hands-on, where they could be the leaders of their own education and what interests them. So I think for many kids, putting them in a box and making them sit there and teach them only specific things and then testing them on it, we're really seeing that it's not very effective, and our kids are struggling, and the joy of school has been just completely squashed with these tests. And really, learning is fun. It's joyful. It's wonderful. And I would just love to see that joy put back into classrooms.
Yeah, school learning should be fun. And we talk here on the podcast about, reading with our kids so our kids can develop a love of reading and learning. And then it seems like a lot of school is just drumming that out of them. It's like, no. Don't read for joy. You have to read this book. We don't care if you're interested in it or not. You just have to sit down and read it and then memorize it because we need you to spit it back to us.
Or they photocopy a black and white worksheet with bubbles after it and call that reading. And that just makes me want to gag too.
Well, I had a feeling that people are going to sit, and you answered that question so quickly, people are going to think that we set that up, but it really didn't. That was just, I had a feeling that you had spent a lot of time thinking about that, and I'm happy that you shared that, because I think we need to start thinking about how to change our education system, because as more and more of our jobs become done by things and robots and technology, we're going to need to teach our kids how to be creative and expressive and to find joy in life and learning.
Absolutely. And as so many of these jobs move into, people owning their own businesses and being entrepreneurs, we need to give our kids the skills to do that and teach them how to self-promote and advertise and find their passion and really work towards bringing some service that is needed in the world to others. And, I think that piece is really missing right now.
Yeah. Well, before you go, I just want to touch on the Magic of Me journal. Journaling is something that's been important in my life. I've been keeping a journal since I was in high school. And so it's really big.
Have you gone back and read them all?
No, I haven't read any of them. But to me, it's just journaling is important for me because it forces me every night to sit down and to take a minute to reflect on what happened during the day. And there are a lot of entries that are, maybe this, just like an inch big and it was a good day today. But I think it's important discipline for everyone to just kind of sit down and take stock of the day. And it's Also for me, the journal is really helpful when I'm angry about something. I can sit down and write in the journal and I get it out and then I don't have to yell at anybody. It's just, I put it down there. So, but tell us about the Magic of Me journal.
Sure. So my book, The Magic of Me, actually has journal pages built right in. And at the end of every chapter, and there's 30 of them, there are a couple questions to reflect on the topics of the chapter, and a lot of times there's an activity to follow that builds on the concepts of that chapter. And so the journal is really the same as all those pages. It's a collection of them, and I put them together because nowadays I know a lot of parents like the ebooks and or have multiple kids in a family. So if they wanted to get, one copy of The Magic of Me, or they wanted to get the ebook, then they could order the journal separately and have it so that children can write in it, or they could do it as a family, or, homeschoolers can even use it as part of their curriculum. So it's a nice bigger version. It's an 8 by, the standard size, 8.5 by 11, or a standard size paper.
Yep.
And you can write right in it, and it goes perfectly with that book, The Magic of Me.
That's awesome. Now, where can folks connect with you online so they can find out more about your great books and also jump on your email list?
Absolutely. Well, I have a website. It's called authorbecummings.com. And they can also connect with me on Facebook. I'm there under Becky Cummings, and I have an author page as well. And I'm on Instagram under Becky Cummings. My books are all available on Amazon, or you can go right onto my website and be directed to the Amazon link as well.
That is awesome. We've been talking today to the author of the brand new book, My Magical Words, Becky Cummings. Becky, thanks so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me as a guest. I appreciate it.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Dr. Ron Melmed. Dr. Ron Melmed, he is a pediatrician. He's also the author of a delightful series of middle grade books that teach kids the ST4 techniques. I'm going to let him explain what it's all about, but it's really fascinating and really, really helpful. It's going to make a big difference in a lot of kids' lives. That's the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you are the author of a great children's book, you understand just how difficult it can be to help your book stand out amongst the crowd of books that are published every week and every month and every single year. You might want to check out our Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read program. We have assembled a wonderful team of evaluators. They're parents, they're educators, they're kids. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, it becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes all sorts of great promotional tools that will help your book stand out, help families understand that your book is worthy of their consideration and probably should be part of their family library. You can check it out today at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Want to thank our guest, Becky Cummings. Make sure you check out her book, My Magical Words. I also want to thank my amazing producer, Fatima Khan. I want to thank my beautiful wife for all of the support she gives me. And of course, I want to thank you. You are part of our beautiful Reading with Your Kids family. You are making the world a better place by reading with your kids. Thank you so very, very much. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.